don't know how much it was over the Lakers. First of all, he's represented by Aaron Mintz, who's the agent for Paul George, and also who they're friends, Reggie and Paul, but also was the agent for Julius Randle and D'Angelo Russell, who Aaron Mintz did not like the way they were treated in L.A. You know he shared that with Reggie. However, Reggie did talk to some people with the Lakers, but they didn't go full bore after him. It wasn't like LeBron and A.D. called him and recruited him. The Lakers feel, whether we agree or not, they feel good about where they're at and what they have. Not that they certainly wanted Darren Collison. But outside of that, and Marcus Morris, obviously they wanted, they're not just like, we just got to add somebody. Now, for the Clippers, I like Reggie there. I mean, I think he's their fourth guard, Doug. Certainly, obviously, Patrick Beverley is what he is. Lou Williams is what he is. And Landry Shamet is huge for them with his three-point shooting.
Yes.
So I think Reggie's after all those guys. It's kind of insurance for injuries, which is an issue with them. And we kept him from the Lakers, even if the Lakers weren't like 100% on bringing him in.
I would love to like decipher his points and tell me he's wrong, but he's totally. I mean, like again, this is, and it's not a Rich Paul thing, right? It's a Pelinka thing. Right. It's a like when you have this is the real world of the NBA. Is Aaron Mintz is like didn't even consider the Lakers didn't go after him. He didn't really consider them. So it's not as it's perceived. Are there players that don't want to play with Team LeBron if they're not represented by Rich Paul? Yes. I don't think that's the case here. And though I think it adds to the talent of the Clippers, and 1 through 12 looks better than the Lakers, last I checked, you can only play 5 guys. Okay? And that 12th guy you just brought in, I think Reggie knows what he's getting into. But if you remember why it ended in Oklahoma City was he wanted to run his own team. He wanted to be the guy. He wants to be an alpha. Now, he took a big payday, right? He can count his money and sit on the bench and just come in and get buckets. But I kind of think this helps the Lakers because any minute he's on the court, that means Pat Beverley's not on the court. That means Lou Williams or Landry Shamet's not in the court. And I think the Lakers have a greater respect for what those guys can do in the matchup against the Lakers than what Reggie can do because he's not what he was when he first came to the Pistons. And I think the big challenge for Doc, and he's been great about it, but you got a bunch of junkyard dogs in that locker room. You got everybody wants a shot, which is great in theory, okay? But in practice, you can only play 5, only one guy shoots, and it sounds great to say, nah, man, I'll play 5 minutes. I'll just clap, I'll wave the towel until you're the guy clapping and waving the towel, and it's just not fun when you want to be out there. I think this is a big challenge, honestly, for that Clippers bench to keep everybody in line. Patrick Beverley generally does it. He's the alpha, more so than Kawhi, more so than Paul George, and especially now a challenge because it's a guy who could potentially take a couple of his minutes.
No, you're making a great point because talking to some people around the league, that's what they brought up is the minutes and the chemistry. There already have been reports about, and I think they're a little overblown, but about issues with the Clippers because, you know, Kawhi's low management, the culture has changed. Last year it was all about every single game, every single possession matters. We're getting after it every time for 48 minutes. Now it's about these first few months of the season don't really matter. It's all about May and June. That's a total flip for this franchise. Now you bring in a guy who, as you said, wasn't really happy in Oklahoma City coming off the bench, being behind Westbrook and Durant and those guys. How's he going to – because, again, I think you agree with me. He's their fourth guard. And then Kawhi and Paul George handle the ball a lot. So I'm not sure where he fits in. And when he even comes in, he's a talented player.
Yes.
But does he fit even the way they play?
And I talked to some of the people in Detroit last night, and they're like, look, he's matured a lot. I think he can handle it, especially in the hierarchy of that team. But the point you make, which is a really good one, is, look, there are nights, he's probably going to be a guy that plays a bunch on those back-to-back nights, right?
Right.
Because they're going to try and win more games in the regular season. But some of that, it actually can be a curse when you play well. Because you go out and play really well, and you score 25 when the other guys aren't playing, then you're sitting over there 2 nights later like, man, I just showed him I can play, and now I'm sitting here. It's a hard thing mentally when you go from a starter to now all of a sudden I'm trying to show that I still have it at a higher level of basketball, and yet I'm not getting the minutes in the bigger games. It's going to be a challenge for Reggie. It's going to be a challenge for the bench. It does make them overall more talented, but that doesn't always win championships.
First of all, I think the interesting question is, because you know how magazine pieces work, were they interviewed for this before the trades were made? Before they went small? I don't know. I'm guessing it was after. but it may have very well been before because it takes, months sometimes to get articles like this out. However, to answer your question, I don't think so. I think at best, they're the third best team in the West. So barring major injuries to the Clippers and the Lakers, I don't think they can get to the conference finals. I think they were better suited to win the championship a couple years ago when they still had Clint Capella and had Chris Paul. And we all know they had Golden State down 3-2. I still feel like Golden State would have won that series if Chris Paul, was out. If he had stayed healthy, I think Golden State would have won. But I don't know that. I mean, maybe the Rockets would have won that series and gone on to win the championship. But when you went ahead and made the trade to Chris Paul for Russell Westbrook, I think this move to small ball was the best thing for your lineup now. Like, this is great for Russell Westbrook because for the first time in his career, the lane is wide open. Even though OKC, you had Steven Adams there, now it's wide open. He doesn't have to sit at the three-point line anymore and wait for Harden to pass him the ball where he was shooting like 23% from three. So if you notice his play, he's averaged darn near 40 points a game since they went to small ball when he's been healthy. So, I also think, Doug, one of the best things about this is that it makes them less Harden-centric. Like, before it was Harden clearly number one, and Russ kind of getting in where he fit in like everybody else. Now, I think it's really a 1-2 punch. These are two co-stars now, and Harden obviously can do his thing, and Westbrook's able to do what he does best. So both of them can kind of maximize their games in this system, and I think they got slightly better than they were a month ago. But I don't think they can win.
And they added, of course, 2 players here in the buyout market, right? I mean, I think DeMarre Carroll,
which I think are good moves for this style of play.
Yes, gives them more shooting off the bench, more guys to versatile defenders. Okay, let's start 2 years ago. Okay, 2 years ago was the 27 in a row missed threes. 26 or 27 in a row missed threes. Obviously, you make any of those, but live by it, die by it. It should also be pointed out, and it hasn't, I don't think, enough. Andre Iguodala was hurt for the Warriors. Right. If Andre Iguodala, like everybody's like, well, maybe Chris Paul didn't get hurt. Exactly. Well, Andre Iguodala didn't get hurt. I never thought they used Chris Paul enough the way that Chris Paul is great. Chris Paul is arguably the best pick and roll point guard in the last 15 years. He and John Stockton, they're unbelievable at screen roll. And when you combine the three-point shooting they had around him, so many times Chris Paul was just standing waiting for the basketball, and that's not getting the best value out of that asset. But I agree with the trade of Capella. Even though you want rim protection, Capella has no real value because you can't. Russell Westbrook's not a screen roll guy, right? And they're getting the most out of what they have. And so I think it was a smart move to completely commit to small ball. So first things first, which is the name of the show, but also this needs to be stated. Whomever in the Houston Rockets organization, I want you to watch, whoever convinced Russell Westbrook to stop shooting threes, I commend you. I owe you a steak dinner. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. He can't shoot him, and for the most part, he hasn't shot him. And guess what? His production is better. And they put shooters around him. And while I agree with you, and oh yeah, by the way, the byproduct of it is less James Harden dribbling. I love basketball. I think James Harden's great. I hate watching James Harden play basketball most of the time because he dribbles so much. Like, I get it. But I actually like what they're doing. I like that they're committed to the style, and they're the third best team in the West, which we agree with. But they could screw up the Lakers. They could screw up the Clippers, and here's why. You mentioned the Clippers and the struggles that they're having at times because they don't know who's in their lineup. The Clippers are kind of struggling a little bit with an identity crisis because they haven't played together enough. Right. The Rockets are not. They knew who they are. Right? Russell Westbrook's finally figured out, hey, I'm not a three-point shooter.
And the style of play.
They know exactly what they are, right? They are Russell Westbrook trying to get to the rim, and if somebody comes, they're going to kick off and shoot a three. Right. They're James Harden going one-on-one. If somebody helps, it's a kickoff, and they're going to shoot a three. They know exactly who they are. And knowing who you are is kind of the beginning of your true success in life. It's the same thing with teams. I do think they have a shot to win this thing. It's an outside shot, but it's the best shot they have with their personnel. And I don't think the Lakers or the Clippers particularly want to play them because they're going to win a game or two simply based upon this style that they're completely committed to.
Yeah, I wouldn't pick them over either the LA teams. But before the trade, I thought they had a better shot at beating the Clippers. After the trade, or now that they're going small, I think they have a better shot. Again, I wouldn't pick them. But, yeah, they got a better shot at beating the Lakers because the Lakers would have trouble I mean, they spread out the floor and go small. Now are the Lakers bigs going to get out there and guard them?
Not just that. Who does LeBron James guard? Like, we talk about, I mean, obviously, JaVale McGee is useless in that series. Dwight Howard is useless in that series, right?
AD may have a little trouble, but he can get out there and guard.
No, but Anthony Davis probably has to guard Russell Westbrook, right? That's what people have been doing.
They did that because I believe they played him.
Right, and they lost.
Right,
it's like, and then how do you hide LeBron James, who at this point in his career is more of really a help side guy than he is, like, he can't guard James Harden. He can't guard Russell Westbrook.
They probably put him on PJ.
Right, so, okay, so he's going to guard PJ Tucker and be out of the lane, and he's not able to help, which he's a great, brilliant help side defender now and using his brain at this point in his career. It's a really hard matchup for the Lakers that are not built for that style. It's something they struggle with. So I think it's going to be fascinating to see how this plays out.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.